Hello everyone and welcome to a very special edition of PokeCentre. For those of you that don't know, my name is Douglas Evans, and PokeCentre is a show that we had covering Season 7 and Season 8 here in the NCPL, and we thought it'd be very fun to kind of revive PokeCentre for this very special edition, very special episode. As usual, I am joined by my co-host, one of the founders of the NCPL and admin, Calvin Rowick. Calvin, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here as always.
Great. So, of course, there's been a lot of chatter in the group, a lot of people wanting to know when is the next season starting, what's going on with that, what's happening with it. So we thought we'd use PokeCentre as a platform to kind of unveil this big announcements of what might be next year in the NCPL. So, Calvin, why don't you start by taking that away and telling us what's going on in the group?
Well, it may seem like things have been really quiet this last month or so, but I promise you guys, behind the scenes, me and my admin team have been really hard at work to bring you what today is the big announcement, which is the announcement of the Season 11 NCPL Commander Draft Tournament 2.
Wow, another Commander Draft Tournament. That's super exciting. That's awesome. I'm sure a lot of people in this group and in this league will be very excited to hear that announcement. It's official. Season 11 Commander Draft Tournament 2 coming your way. We'll have some more details on it coming up in this video and on this episode of PokeCentre here as we kind of trudge on through. But why don't you tell me some reasons as to why you and the admin group maybe decided to have another Commander Draft Tournament?
Well, it was a pretty easy decision to make because, we've done a lot of budget draft tournaments. Basically, Season 8, 9, and 10 were all standardized budget tournaments, even though there was a difference of points and tiers. They were all pretty much dealing with a lot of the same Pokemon in similar tierings. I feel like a Commander Draft Tournament puts a really fun spin on that standard concept, and because we're using low-tier Pokemon this season, it's going to make it so that we're not seeing a lot of the same Pokemon like we do every season. No Mega Medichams or no Slowbros, none of that stuff. We're going really low-tier for this one, and with that Commander Tournament concept.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I remember that was when we did the very first season of PokeCentre. Was covering Season 7, the original Commander Draft Tournament, and it was a different, interesting concept. And I understand there's a bit of a twist on how you're going to be doing it in upcoming Season 11 here, but I recall that you had to have a commander. It was like the captain of your team. You had to bring it to every match, if I recall. You couldn't trade that Pokemon, and I think, as you mentioned, using with some lower tier Pokemon, the commander, the captain of the team was kind of the highest tier, the best Pokemon you would have on your team. So that made it kind of interesting as well as you're trying to utilize Pokemon from lower tiers. But why don't you just kind of describe to me, remind me again some of the more minute, finer details of it, and anyone who has ever played in a Commander Draft Tournament, kind of what it is and what the concept really is for it.
I actually think you nailed it on the head there, Douglas. The Commander, it's drafted uniquely to your team, regardless of conference. Everybody is going to have their own unique commander, and it'll be the highest tiered Pokemon from the pool. It's also untradeable and has to come to every match in the season and if you make it into playoffs. But what's really interesting about this season, as you alluded to, is there is going to be a twist. And that twist is the Tera Lieutenant. Now, this idea comes from, me wanting to bring in the Tera mechanics from Generation 9, the main gimmick. But the problem is it was always difficult to do so in a way that wasn't random or too overpowered. There's a lot of problems with the Tera mechanic, and it was really hard kind of nailing down how we wanted to go about it. But I think this season we have done it in the most safe, non-random, and more importantly, balanced way possible. So how we're doing it is the Tera Lieutenant is only going to be available to Pokemon from the 3 lowest tiers in the draft pool. And based off how low or high it is within those available tiers that you can choose it from, you'll get access to more or less Tera forms, which is the types. So if you're the highest one there, you'll only get 1. If you're in the middle, you'll get 2 Tera types. And if you're on the lowest, you'll get 3 Tera types. But remember, this is in addition to your stabs, which is same type attack bonus. So if you're a singular type Pokemon, you'll get that type plus whatever. But if you're a dual type, you'll also get your 2 stabs that you can Tera into in conjunction with the extra ones based off what tier you come from. And to remove some of the randomness even further in the beginning of the battle, you're going to have to declare which of all those Tera's types that you have available to you that you're going to be using for that battle. So if out of the 5 you have available, say you want to use Steel that battle, you have to let your opponent know in the chat before the match begins that, hey, my Tera Lieutenant is going to be Steel.
Yeah, and I understand we'll kind of talk about rules a little bit, but that's going to be an important part of, like, you have to be able to declare that before your match, or that would result in disqualification for your match of that week, correct?
Yes, absolutely, because we want to remove the randomness from this, so it's going to be very important that everybody gets into the habit of doing that in the beginning of the matches.
That sounds good. I find that that's interesting, and kind of as you're bringing in like this new kind of style that they introduced in Generation 9 for Pokemon, introducing it to your group and trying to make it less random, maybe more strategic, kind of puts a different twist, a bit of a different kind of, je ne sais quoi on this upcoming tournament. So I like that as an idea, and I think that's pretty interesting. All right, with that being said, you've piqued my interest. I'm someone that was interested in me signing up for the NCPL, playing in a tournament, and now I want to play, hearing all this different stuff. So Calvin, what do I got to do? What are the steps? What do I do to play in Season 11 here in the NCPL?
Well, there's 2 major steps you have to follow. The very first step is going to be joining the NCPL group page on Facebook. There you're going to go to the sign up post. You'll find all the information there, a reminder of what I'm going to tell you now, as well as the rules and other like-minded players signing up. So follow this criteria. You're going to need to comment your first and last name. You're going to have to comment your showdown ID that you're going to be using for the matches, your country of residence, your time zone, which will help with us coordinating, planning, and scheduling of games. And the last thing you're going to need to do there is answer the secret question by reading the rules. This is very important.
Yeah, that's absolutely important. It's super important. You got to make sure you read the rules. You want to make sure you have a full understanding of the ins and outs of this tournament and of this group to avoid any confusion. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't understand that. It's like we make it very clear up front. This is what you need to know to play here in this league, what you need to know to play in this tournament, right? So you've got to make sure you read those rules. Just like the things we talked about just a few moments ago about the Tera Lieutenant. You want to make sure you understand that. You don't want to be playing the dumb card of like, I didn't know, I shouldn't be disqualified. It's like, it's very black and white. Make sure you understand that. And of course, the Showdown ID is very important as well because we're playing our tournaments on Pokemon Showdown, right? So that's also why you want to make sure you have that on there. You mentioned there's 2 parts for signing up for the tournament. The second part is you got to join the Discord. And the link for the Discord will also be in the post on the Facebook page for when you sign up for the tournament. So you want to click on that link, join the Discord group, and then within there we have a channel for an emblem. You got to make sure you submit your emblem representing you as a player on that channel, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then we get to that point. The signups are out there. Players are signing up. People are wanting to play in this tournament. It's getting hot. It's going viral. Whatever's going on with it here. Is there a certain number of players who are looking forward to play for this tournament to take place? Is there a maximum? What is kind of the limit for people participating in this tournament, Calvin? Disclose that to us.
So the minimum amount of players that we're going to be hoping for in order to even get the tournament running in the first place is going to be 32 players. Same as last season. This is the minimum. So 1 person less, then unfortunately this season's not going to happen. But I have full confidence we're going to get lots of people interested in playing here. But the max amount of people is actually going to be 64 players. We got to cap it off somewhere, and that's the number that makes the most sense. And within there, though, between the 32 and 64, we're going to require that the amount of participation players is going to be divisible by 4. So the reason for that is so that we keep all the divisions the same amount of players. That way there's not random amounts of players not playing every week. It has to be this way. So if we have a number that's, say, like 37 players, well then, we're going to round down and we're going to have a certain 1 player in reserve, right? Because then it would be 36 players. So on and so forth. It's all going to depend. We have players who drop out for whatever reasons or players who get banned. So having reserve players always good to have in the back to rely on, because it helps us out a lot to make sure that the tournament moves forward, and we're not stopping for nobody.
Absolutely. So even if, like you said, if we got 37 but you were only going to use 36, that person could still potentially play in that tournament if someone were to drop out, or they're kind of on reserve at that point, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. And then once the tournament's going and happening, as we've done over the past few seasons, and for those that don't know, you would split all the players up into 2 conferences, and then there would be 2 divisions within those conferences, so 4 divisions total. If you get the minimum number of players, which is 32, it would be a 16-player playoff by the time you reach the playoffs, and the top 4 players of each division would then make those playoffs. And if we hit that sweet spot, that sweet number, the maximum 64, and it's just utter chaos in the playoffs here for this tournament, it would be a full gauntlet, 32-player playoffs in the top 8 of each division, which just sounds absolutely insane if we could hit that 64, but I'm excited regardless to see what happens. And then at that point, the drafting process begins. And Calvin, I heard that you might be switching up the drafting process a little bit from tournaments in the past, so why don't you tell me and tell the group about what the plans are for that?
Well, I think the draft process is going to stay pretty familiar in many aspects. So, for example, each conference is going to have their own individual draft pool, and it is still going to be a snake draft like we've done it before. Each player is going to have 10 draft picks this season. One of those will be the captain. I'll get more into that in a moment. Then you're going to get 2 Pokemon from Tier A, 2 from Tier B, 2 from Tier C and or D, and 3 from Tier E and or F. Now, I want to kind of get into the captain Pokemon for a minute here, because it's a very important part of the draft. Now, once every conference has completed up to round 4, everybody's got 4 Pokemon, we're going to join both conferences. We'll stagger every participant, and then we're going to do a coin flip to see which conference gets to go first. And for the round 5 pick, everybody is going to pick their captain Pokemon. So everybody, because it's going to be a shared pool, everybody's going to have an individual and unique captain Pokemon. Once that pick is done, everybody's going to go back to their original conference draft pools, and they're going to continue on until they have finished all 10 of their picks.
And one thing you want to keep in mind with the drafting process is that in between picks, you have a 2-hour timer to make your pick. So if for some reason you're not able to make it in the 2-hour window, try to trust someone, have a friend, have someone that you can leave picks with, backup picks, whatever it may be. But you want to make sure that you're drafting the Pokemon that you want and that you were involved in the process. If for some reason your turn is skipped, you are unable to make your pick in the 2-hour window, come next round, you only get 1 hour. And then if you're skipped again, you only get 30 minutes and 15 minutes. And of course, if you are skipped continuously and are not really participating at all, then there's a good chance you might just be booted from the tournament right from the hop altogether, which is not great. You signed up, you want to play, you had interest in playing, see it through. And you don't want to take that spot from someone who maybe was wanting to play and wasn't able to make it because we had to round down or whatever the situation might be. So leave your picks with someone, or make sure you were there to make your picks. You don't want to be like Ash Ketchum, sleeping in, rolling in late to Professor Oak's office. That's embarrassing.
I choose you, Charmander! Oh no! What time is it? Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Charmander, anyone's fine. Just please save one for me!
See what I'm talking about? That's pretty embarrassing for that guy. Don't be Ash.
Yes, exactly. Now, once all the drafting has been concluded, everybody's gotten their 10 Pokemon, we're going to actually have one more round of decision making for everybody in their conferences. And this is going to be the declaration of their Tera Lieutenants. Now, when it's your turn, you're going to have 2 things to consider and to decide. You're going to have to decide which of your viable Pokemon will be your Tera Lieutenant. You only get 1 per team. And you're going to have to declare, in addition to your stabs, which obviously you'll have access to those, which Tera types you're going to be. So look into the rules, just refresh yourself, and be prepared for this moment because this is very important.
And at that point, you've got your captain, you've got your Tera Lieutenant, you've got your team made. Tournament or the drafting process is now completed. Team building can begin, and then the tournament will begin on the following Monday. Now that we've covered the drafting process here for the upcoming season, we're going to talk a little bit about the rules. We're not going to do a deep dive into every rule. That's what the rules are for. That's why they're posted on the Facebook page. Make sure you're looking at those, reading those through thoroughly, as we've brought up and mentioned many times. But there's a couple of ones we wanted to hit home here and talk about specifically on this episode of PokeCentre. And the first thing that Calvin and I saw that you wanted to discuss here was about the trades. So what is the trading process for this upcoming season?
The trading process is going to remain very similar to past seasons, but with a couple changes. So like it was before, every Monday for the entire day you can make trades that you'll do in the proper trading Discord channel. If you're making a trade and you're going to battle your opponent, you got to make sure that you tag your opponent. We're also not going to be allowing players to randomly edit their trades. So you can't make a trade, wait 20 hours till the end of Monday and then edit that trade. You have to be committed to whatever you're typing in the Discord channel and your trade will stand. And also remember that you're not going to be able to trade your captain, so don't even try to do that. And there's a bunch of rules on the Tera Lieutenants. So for example, you can trade your Tera Lieutenant once per season, or you can change your Tera type once per season. That has to be done on the Monday in the trading channel.
And you only get an opportunity to do that once in the season to change the type of the Tera Lieutenant, correct?
Correct.
Sounds good. And then I'll talk a little bit here about the just overarching about the battles. So for your battles, you're going to have one per week that you have to play. The battle must be completed by midnight Sunday Pacific Standard Time. And I believe that's normally how we've run it every tournament here in the NCPL, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that will stay as well. And the other main thing you want to remember is posting your battle replay. So we have the replay channel on the Discord. Make sure you're posting the link to your battle. Typical protocol is that the winner of the battle for that week is posted in that replay. But make sure you do that. If you do not post your replay and do not post it in time, it will be treated by the admins as if that battle did not happen, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. So make sure you're doing your battle one per week. It's done by midnight Sunday Pacific Standard Time, and that you are posting a link to that battle in the replay channel in the Discord again. Now, I understand there's a couple new rules that you're introducing this season. So Calvin, why don't you tell us, everyone, a little bit about those ones?
So as per popular demand, we are actually banning the use of hidden powers this season. It's been a big part of competitive draft around here, but I think people want to change. And since this is a vastly different tournament, I say, let's add another weird element to it. So no hidden powers are going to be allowed. So make sure in your prep that you're not slapping hidden power fire, hidden power ice, or whatever on your Pokemon and bring them to battle. Because know that if you are found using those moves during your battles, that's an instant disqualification. And we don't want that. We want everybody to have fun here, and we're trying something new. The other new rule that I want to bring up is regarding the implementation of a new battle timer protocol. Regarding the implementation of using the battle timer. Now before we've allowed the battle timer and kind of persuaded people not to use it, but we feel like having more concrete rules. So that means if you want to use the battle timer, you have to tell your opponent in the chat that you're initiating the grace period. And that is going to be 15 minutes where the battle timer cannot be used. At the end of the 15 minutes, you can then turn the battle timer on. Now, you guys never need to do this ever. Like, if you don't want to type any of that and never want to use the battle timer, that's fine. But if you have an intention of using the battle timer, you have to inform your opponent in the battle chat.
All right, let's start running through the checklist here. So we have announced the tournament. We've announced the Commander Draft. We've talked about captains. We've talked about Tera Lieutenants. We've discussed some of the rules. We've talked about the drafting process. We've talked about players, maximum, minimums, how things look, conferences, divisions. After getting all this information that we've given you, you might be asking yourself, why would I want to play in this tournament? What's going to put me over the top to want to join the NCPL and play in Season 11 Commander Draft Tournament 2? And there are many reasons as to why you'd want to do that. First, you get to make friends. Everyone loves making friends. Connections with fellow players that are passionate about competitive Pokemon play, which is a great thing. This is an awesome community that the NCPL is and that has been built over many, many years. Last season, Season 10, I believe Matthew Heater won, right, Calvin?
Yes.
And I'm hoping that he's going to sign up and play so he can defend his championship. And that's the most important thing, or one of the most important things for if you're someone like me who's competitive. You get bragging rights. You get a chance to win. You get a chance to win Season 11. When we look back on our history, you would have your name etched in the history of the NCPL. We are very proud of all of our past winners, and we love to celebrate our history. So when we look back on Season 11, it would be your name as the winner of Season 11, and your name alone. And that's super important, and I don't see how you can not want to play after hearing that. But there are other perks as well when I mentioned community and stuff here in the NCPL. So Calvin, what are some other perks you get from playing in the tournaments?
Well, you get the ability to vote on the Pokemon Draft Tier-list. Our Draft Tier-list is something that we're always constantly changing in between tournaments. We base it off how good or bad Pokemon are, but it's also based off the flavor and the opinions of our active community. You get to be a part of that important function of our group. You get to shape future tournaments, and you get to decide on, where you think the Pokemon get to go. Maybe there's something you're passionate about. You want a Pokemon to be higher up on that list to get more usage, or you're really tired of fighting Tapu Leles and you want that shit banned. You get be a deciding factor in that process. Another important part of the NCPL that we are very proud of is our player ranking list. So what that is every player in the history of the NCPL that has participated in a draft tournament gets the right to be ranked on the drafting player ranking list. So we rank players from S, A, B, C, D, and based on how well you do on your drafting, your playing, your prepping, your participation, your accolades, you're going to be slotted in a rank that you can, compare with your friends, see how you stack up against the best. You will get the right to that list.
Yeah, which is very cool because as you keep playing in future tournaments, you get to see your progression and your growth here in the NCPL, which is very exciting. As I mentioned, this is a great community and a collaborative atmosphere. You get to do things like be involved in that the draft tier list and things of that nature. So along with that and the opportunity to play matches, play competitively, and to possibly even win. I think those are more than enough reasons to want to play in this tournament, join this league, and to try to crown yourself the winner of Season 11. I'm almost tempted to play. I would destroy Jonas, Calvin, Matthew Heater, all these guys in a heartbeat if I had the time, but unfortunately, I just don't these days. Calvin, I want to thank you very much for involving me in this process, being here with me today. It's been a lot of fun to help make this big announcement for Season 11. I can't believe we're 11 seasons into this. It's insane to me. And I'm really excited to see how this season turns out, how it goes. And it was a lot of fun to host a special edition of PokeCentre. I wish this was something we could do more often. But, we might pop up every now and then whenever we get the chance. And I hope this is just as fun for you as it was for me.
Yeah, it was. I'm really happy to always do this with you, Douglas. And for all of you just itching to play, I'm definitely going to be playing. I'll see you guys out there on the battlefield. And, you better bring your A game because I always do.
And there you have it. Calvin right here throwing down that challenge, setting the expectations for upcoming Season 11 here in the NCPL Commander Draft Tournament 2. What are you waiting for? Go sign up. Thank you all so much for listening to this special edition of PokeCentre. It's been a lot of fun for us. I hope it was just as fun for you to listen to. And with that being said, now as we sign off, your Pokemon have been rested up, and we hope to see you soon.